In front of the camera, the campus belle crouched beside the boy with a disfigured face, crying as if her heart would break. "I'm sorry, if I had been a little more forceful and rushed in at the time, you wouldn't have been hurt," the classmates nearby chimed in one after another. "Exactly, the fire was still small back then, we could have saved him, but it's all Sumubai's fault for not letting us go in to rescue him." The barrage of comments all accused me of being selfish and heartless. Even the counselor's gaze toward me was filled with reproach, while I was being insulted by the entire internet. The campus belle and my classmates, on the other hand, each registered accounts to start live streams. They either talked about their heroic deeds or secretly followed and filmed my daily life as a cold-blooded creature. Finally, I was pushed to the limit by all kinds of strange looks and bullying methods, and I could no longer bear it, leaping from the high building. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment when the neighboring villa caught fire. This time, I will watch them all step into the endless hell together. It seems like the neighbor's house is on fire. Everyone was drawn out of their rooms by this voice. Sure enough, thick smoke was billowing out of the neighboring villa. Everyone was stunned by the scene, momentarily at a loss for what to do. A girl asked, "Should we call the police?" The campus belle, Wenxin, slapped her on the shoulder. "Are you stupid? By the time the fire department gets here, the people inside will have already burned to death." Her eyes darted around. "How about we go in and save them?" Everyone else was stunned, looking at Wenxin with disbelief. "Are you crazy? The fire is so intense. What if something happens to us if we go in?" Wenxin bit her lip. Seeing the fire growing stronger, she anxiously said, "But we can't just stand by and watch them die, can we? There must be people inside. What if someone dies?" One of the boys sneered coldly. "What does it matter to us if others die? If something happens to us, if we get hurt or disabled, who will take responsibility for us?" Others chimed in one after another. "Yeah, that's right. When Xian, you're acting a bit strange. Why not call the police instead of sending us to our deaths?" I looked at this group of people who were absolutely unwilling to go in and sneered coldly. They certainly didn't have this attitude when facing the camera in my previous life. In my previous life, when the fire broke out, they clearly didn't want to go either. As the class monitor, I naturally had the responsibility to protect everyone's safety, so I chose to have them wait at a distance while I immediately called the fire department, but this place is remote and hard to reach for fire trucks. By the time the trucks finally arrived, the fire had already mostly burned out. Fortunately, the person inside was still alive, but due to prolonged inhalation of thick smoke and burns to the face, their vocal cords were damaged and their face was disfigured. As soon as the person was pulled out and placed on a stretcher, before they could even be loaded into the ambulance, a group of reporters rushed in, competing to interview them. Upon inquiry, everyone learned that the victim in the fire was actually the youngest and most favored son of the wealthiest person in the city. The class erupted into chaos afterwork. The campus belle, when Xian, quickly moved in front of the camera and pretended to cry. The other classmates in the class hated me even more. If I hadn't stopped them from going in to rescue, the youngest son of the richest man wouldn't have been in trouble, and they could have gained many benefits by saving him. In a fit of anger, they actually pinned me to the ground and beat me up together. I was beaten black and blue by them, and they dragged me, not letting me leave, forcing me to cooperate with their live stream. They quickly gained followers online one by one. In just one morning, some saw their follower count increase by over 500,000, and brands immediately approached them for advertising. Just like that, with my half-dead life, I was completely exploited by them. It wasn't until I was rescued by the police that I was finally able to catch my breath. But I never expected that from that day on, my nightmare would truly begin. As soon as I returned to school, I was shunned, secretly photographed, and even had rotten eggs thrown at my face. Those who had missed the chance to be heroes because of me went even further in their humiliation, repeatedly forcing me into toilets and pouring sewage into my mouth and nose. I turned to my counselor for help, only to be met with a cold response. "Who told you to be so heartless? You brought this on yourself. And I can't help you." In the end, in utter despair, I chose to take my own life. Fortunately, heaven had eyes, and I was brought back to the moment before I fell into the abyss. This time, not only will I watch them march to their deaths, but I will also personally push them into the abyss. Seeing them still hesitating, I decided to give them a push myself. I said loudly, "When Xian, just tell the truth, I always thought it was strange back then. We had originally planned to go to Disneyland, but you insisted on coming to this remote place for a villa team building event. Later, you even got the boys in the class to vote for you, and once we got here, you didn't participate in any activities, just spent every day peeking out the window at the villa across the way. Now that we've discovered the fire over there right away, and you're unwilling to call the police, yet you still want to drag everyone in to rescue people. Are you hiding something from us?" When Xian's face instantly turned ugly, and she snapped sharply, "What nonsense are you talking about? What could I possibly be hiding from you? There really are people inside. If something happens, could you live with yourself?" A boy who usually followed when Xian around immediately stepped forward to back her up. "When Xian is right, she's just a kind-hearted girl who simply wants to save people, you ugly creature. I think you're just jealous of when Xian and deliberately opposing her." "That's right, you're just standing by and watching people die, a pure, cold-blooded animal, someone like you, and you can be the class monitor." Someone even spat in my face. I stepped back and spread my hands. "I'm not stopping you from going in to save anyone. You can rush in right now, go ahead." This left them dumbfounded. They never expected that I wouldn't try to stop them at all. They stood frozen in place, neither going nor staying. For if they didn't go, wouldn't they have just insulted themselves along with me earlier? I just think Wenshin's behavior is a bit odd. If you want us to risk our lives to go in and save someone, you should at least have a reason, right? Everyone's gaze was fixed on Wenshin. Wenshin glared at me fiercely. She watched the fire grow larger and finally couldn't hold back any longer. Gritting her teeth, she said, "The person inside is the son of the wealthiest man." This statement was like a massive stone thrown into a lake, creating huge ripples. Immediately, some people began to waver. "My goodness, it's actually the son of the wealthiest man. I heard the wealthiest man didn't have this only child until he was over 50, and he treasures him like a precious gem, whether he's the son of the richest man or not. We shouldn't just stand by and watch someone die, after all. It's a human life." The others nodded in agreement. "Exactly, if we manage to save the young master, I can't even imagine how the richest man would thank us." With that, someone immediately rolled up their sleeves and rushed inside. The counselor, who had been silent all along, kept frantically signaling to me from behind. Of course she was anxious. If something happened to a student during the group activity, she would be held responsible. The fire was so severe that even if the prince inside was rescued, and the students who saved him gained benefits, the dangerous flames would inevitably lead to bumps and bruises. If a student got injured and their parents came to the school to make a scene, she would be in deep trouble. I pretended not to notice her hint, and she finally couldn't hold back, turning her criticism toward me. "Sumubai, are you just going to stand by and watch your classmates take such a risk?" I shrugged. "Teacher? I'm just a small class monitor. When the classmates have made a decision, my words don't carry much weight. If you don't want everyone to go and rescue him, just say it outright." The school beauty when Xian said indignantly, "Teacher, how can you be so cold-blooded? Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda. As a teacher, you should set an example." "Exactly. If something happens to the young master, can you take responsibility? You really don't deserve to be a teacher." Teacher Lee's face turned deathly pale. I gave her a slight smile. "It must be uncomfortable to be the target of everyone's criticism, right? But this is just the beginning." I pointed at the villa across the street and shouted, "The fire is getting bigger and bigger. Will the young master be okay?" Upon hearing this, they rushed inside one after another. The counselor gritted his teeth and actually followed them in. I trailed slowly behind them. And only after seeing them all rush in did I leisurely open the firebox, take out the hose, and turn on the hydrant. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, I belatedly dialed the fire department. I held the hose and watered the outer perimeter. The villa was designed with a north-south orientation, featuring numerous windows. From any angle, one could easily see the tragic scene inside the fire. That's right. It's a tragic sight, because the earlier argument delayed time. The fire this time was even fiercer than in the previous life. In their rush to seize the opportunity to rescue people, this group didn't even have time to douse themselves with water. Some people, as soon as they entered, were licked by the flames and instantly caught fire, while the campus belle when Xian, escorted by male classmates, managed to escape unscathed and successfully approached the unconscious young master. She was just flashing a triumphant smile when, unexpectedly, the pillar beside her collapsed with a loud crash. Her reaction was swift. She pushed the boy protecting her aside, using him to block the fiery pillar that was about to crush her. Then, under the boy's incredulous gaze, she summoned all her strength and dragged the young master out. Others saw the young master and, no longer caring about the fire, rushed over to compete with Xian for him. Xian naturally couldn't let others succeed, pushing down everyone she could. Some fell and hit their heads, lying motionless inside just like that. The remaining people, seeing the fire grow larger and larger, finally realized their fear belatedly and ran straight out, disregarding everything else. But this villa was entirely decorated with wood, and many half-burned solid wooden planks had collapsed, crushing their legs under the weight of the boards. And this spectacular scene was all recorded by the action camera I had accidentally turned on, after calling the police. Just as in my previous life, it took a full 20 minutes for the fire truck to arrive, although I had already used water to create an opening for the firefighters to begin the rescue, but because too many people rushed into the fire, there weren't enough firefighters, so they could only start rescuing from the outskirts. One by one, people covered in soot were rescued from the fire by the firefighters. The doctors nearby immediately began emergency treatment. The doctors shook their heads as they examined the patient's conditions. Some people had broken legs, some had broken arms, some suffered from diminished eyesight due to thick smoke, and others lost their lives completely in the fire. The counselor was fortunate, rescued without a scratch, but as soon as she was pulled out and saw the tragic scene on the ground, her legs gave way and she knelt down. "It's over, my life is over." The reporters from the previous life also rushed over. Hearing that there was first-hand news about the young master here, they hurried to the scene with their live cameras. Little did they expect to witness such a tragic scene upon arrival. Some aimed their cameras at the people being carried out, others focused on the fire scene, and of course, most of them pointed their lenses at me, the only one who remained completely unharmed. "Classmate, could you please explain what's going on?" "Acting? Who can't do that?" I rubbed my eyes, tears falling. "I don't know what's going on either. We were just playing around here when she suddenly noticed that the villa over there was on fire. We were about to call the police, but she said the person inside was the young master, and then the other classmates rushed in after her, afraid that my words alone wouldn't be enough. I even took the initiative to hand over the camera's memory card." This interview and video were posted online and immediately caused a huge uproar. I used to feel sorry for them, but now I want to say, if you don't court death, you won't die. Do they really think they're more professional than firefighters? They all rushed in to save people, and now look, wiped out. Guess whether they went in to be heroes or to make a fortune. Haha, greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Wait, didn't any of you watch the whole video? I watched it all. That woman is terrifying. To save that so-called crown prince, she actually dared to push other classmates into the fire, preserve the evidence. Does this count as intentional murder? Looking at the dense barrage of bullet comments, I finally closed my phone with satisfaction. Soon, the parents who had been notified quickly arrived. One obese couple rushed into the group of injured people, searching while muttering to themselves, "Where is my son? I hope my precious son is okay." However, things did not go as planned. Their son was the unfortunate one who was pushed away by Winshin and struck by the fire pillar. In the center of the fire, he was quickly knocked to the ground after being hit by the heavy pillar. He was still conscious, but no one would save him. Just like that, he was burned alive in the fire. When he was carried out, his entire body was charred. His parents identified him by the watch on his wrist. "I know this person, his name is Sun Jiabao. He was the only son in the family, with 5 older sisters. It could be said that he was the sole pride and hope of the family. Now, that pride and hope is gone." Sun Jiabao's mother, overwhelmed by grief, turned to anger, her eyes scanning the surroundings as she searched for an outlet to vent her fury. She lunged at me first, gritting her teeth and shouting, "Why is it that my son is burned so badly? Yet you're completely unharmed. Did you deliberately not call for help, hoping to burn our baby to death?" A kind-hearted reporter shielded me and said, "Look clearly, if it weren't for this girl constantly pouring water from outside, your son might have been reduced to ashes by now." Gasping for breath, she turned her gaze to the counselor on the other side and cried, "When you organized the team-building event, didn't you promise to ensure the children's safety? Why did you let my son end up like this? Give me back my son." With that, she rushed forward, grabbed the counselor by the hair, and pinned her to the ground, beating her violently. Sun Jiabao's father also charged over and kicked the counselor in the stomach. She was frail and stood no chance against the 2 heavy-set individuals. After being beaten for a full 5 minutes, she was spitting blood. Suddenly, a man and a woman, carried out one on top of the other, came into her view. She stammered. It was all Wen Xian's fault. She insisted on urging everyone to go in and save people. Before she could finish speaking, she fainted. Sun Jiabao's parents finally found their target for revenge and rushed over with a wooden stick. The medical staff had no time to stop them, and the stick rained down on Wen Xian. From over there came Wen Xian's continuous screams, and she stammered, I am the Crown Prince's savior. How dare you hit me? I'll make you regret it." The other frantic parents, upon hearing the name of the Crown Prince, were immediately intimidated and dared not step forward. I looked over and met Wen Xian's gaze. She curled her lips into a smile at me, her mouth forming the words, "I won again." I knew that Wen Xian had also been reborn, but I wasn't worried at all, because the best was yet to come. After a full half-hour of emergency rescue efforts, the fire in the villa was finally extinguished, and the people inside were gradually rescued, including Sun Jiabao. 2 people were killed in the fire, the other 35 people sustained varying degrees of injuries. I followed the ambulance to the hospital. A group of parents also followed along. With over 60 people crowded in the hospital, everyone was stunned when the nurse handed over the bill. Since every student had burns to some extent, the medical expenses would be at least 30,000 yuan. The most severe case was the girl who was closest to Wenxin, with 98% of her body burned. The first phase of her medical treatment alone would cost 1 million yuan. However, as far as I know, her family is not well off. Sure enough, when her parents, who had rushed from the countryside, saw the enormous bill, they fainted on the spot. Amidst the commotion here, the emergency room was also filled with various cries of agony and curses. Instead, the instigator, Wen Xian, was fine except for the burns on her arms. The Yen master was well protected by her. Aside from inhaling a large amount of smoke, he didn't even have a minor external injury. When Xian held the Yen master's hand tightly, convinced that he would treat her as his savior. With her looks, even if the Yen master didn't fall in love with her at first sight when he woke up, he would develop feelings for her over time as they spent more time together. At this moment, when Xian had completely embraced her identity as the crown princess, feeling her status suddenly elevated. When Xian glanced around the noisy emergency room and instantly grew dissatisfied, she shouted, "Call your hospital director over. What kind of shabby place is this? Move me and the crown prince to a VIP ward immediately." The medical staff in the midst of the emergency were stunned. Someone whispered, "The VIP ward costs 2,000 yuan per day." You, when Xian sneered coldly, "A mere servant. Who asked you to meddle, or do you think the richest man can't afford a VIP ward?" The scolded nurse's face turned pale and then flushed with anger. I stood among the parents, but my attention remained fixed on the emergency room. Seeing Wen Xian and the Yen master being wheeled out, I pretended to murmur casually. Everyone got injured trying to save the Yen master after hearing Wen Xian's words. With so many lifesavers, surely the richest man won't just ignore them, right? Upon hearing this, the parents seemed to have found their target. They rushed over to block Wenxin. "Wenxin, if it weren't for you, my son wouldn't have been injured. Now his leg is broken, and his hand is burned. You must transfer 100,000 yuan to me. My daughter's medical expenses are 200,000 yuan. Our family demands 500,000 yuan. Our child saved you and that so-called crown prince. Where's the reward? If you don't pay up, we'll see you for attempted murder." When Xian was sprayed with spit until she could barely open her eyes, she shouted, "If you keep making a scene, you won't get a single cent." Some people were instantly enraged. One of them slapped Wen Xian across the face, leaving a huge red mark. "My daughter needs money for treatment right now. If you don't pay, I'll make sure you die a miserable death." I stepped forward and said, "Wen Xian, didn't you say this person is the crown prince? Why don't you cover the cost first? Maybe the crown prince will think more highly of you." Wen Xian gritted her teeth, glaring at me fiercely. You wait." As soon as she finished speaking, she was slapped again on the face. "You cheap bitch, hand over the money now." Under the pressure from everyone, Wen Xian had no choice but to take out her phone and call her parents. "Mom, Dad, I need 10 million right now. You have to bring it to me immediately." Wen Xian was the only child in her family, and her parents had always doted on her, never refusing any of her requests, but asking for 10 million right off the bat, even if her father was a contractor. He couldn't come up with that much money. When Xian's father hesitated and asked, "Daughter, what do you need so much money for?" When Xian said impatiently, "Don't you guys watch the news? I just saved the Yen master from the fire. And now many people are injured because of this incident. I'll cover their medical expenses first, and the Yen master will definitely pay us back double later." The two on the other end gasped in shock. They went online and read all the reports, and finally became convinced that their daughter had truly become the crown prince's savior. The two of them instantly came up with an idea. In less than half an hour, when Xian's parents arrived at the hospital with 10 million yuan, everyone took the money and, as expected, quieted down for a moment. When Xian and the crown prince were finally wheeled into the VIP ward, before being wheeled in, when Xian glanced at me, her face full of smugness, regretting it now, "Aren't you? You didn't save the Yen master, so you won't get a single cent. When the Yen master wakes up, guess what he'll do if I tell him that because of you? He almost perished in the fire." I pretended to be scared. "What do you want?" When Xian curled her lips disdainfully, "Why don't you just stay at the hospital these few days to take care of us? If you serve us well, I might even put in a good word for you in front of the Yen master." I was inwardly delighted. I didn't even need to find an excuse to stay and watch the show. I pretended to look humiliated, sitting reluctantly on the nearby stool, when Xian ordered me around, saying, "Fetch me some water, not too hot, not too cold." I knew she was about to start causing trouble. But there was no other way. If I wanted to stay at the scene, I had to swallow my pride. Just as I was about to get up, the young master, who had been unconscious all this time, unexpectedly woke up. A groan escaped from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes slowly opened. I looked at this face, which had been wiped clean but still appeared sharp and frivolous, no matter the angle. This person bore no resemblance whatsoever to the wealthiest man in the country. It seemed the drama that was about to unfold would be even more thrilling than I had imagined, when Xin saw that the young master had woken up and threw herself over him. "Darling, are you all right?" After speaking, she shyly covered her mouth, her eyes wide open, putting on an innocent and adorable expression. The young master had just opened his eyes when he saw a beautiful woman throwing herself into his arms, and his eyes instantly lit up. "Bo, beautiful sister, you are." When Xion's tears came on cue, "You probably don't know me, but I've admired you for a long time. Today, your villa suddenly caught fire, and if I hadn't rushed in to save you in time, I'm afraid." When Xion's tears softened the young master's heart, he pulled her into his embrace, but his hands began to wander restlessly up and down, when Xion didn't find it the slightest bit inappropriate. Instead, she thought it was all due to her overwhelming charm. She nestled in the arms of the crown prince, her face beaming with pride. The crown prince, intoxicated, breathed in the scent of her hair. "They say that a life-saving favor should be repaid with one's own body." Before he could finish speaking, when Xion sealed his lips with a sweet kiss, "I'm willing." The two of them kissed right in front of me, and the crown prince's hand even slipped inside when Xion's skirt. I tactfully made my way out, the sound of gentle, undulating waves echoing behind me, as soon as I stepped out of the VIP ward. The parents who had been waiting outside immediately swarmed around me. "Where is Wenxin? The compensation her parents paid is nowhere near enough. My daughter's burns require skin grafts, and after the grafts, her face will be covered in scars. The doctor said she'll need cosmetic scar removal, which will cost a fortune. Get Wenxin out here to pay up." Others chimed in as well. "My child's foot has permanent damage. The doctor said they'll be slightly lame for the rest of their life. Their future is ruined. The 200,000 yuan they gave is completely useless. Wenxin must compensate me." "Yeah, pay up." I smiled bitterly. "It's no use coming to me. Wenxin is inside, being all lovey-dovey with the young master." Someone spat. "That damn bitch. If I don't get the money today, I'll make sure she's done for." With that, he barged in and kicked the door open. The two who were at a critical moment immediately screamed. The crown prince's thing was still inside, and he asked with a bewildered expression, "What's going on? Why are you all coming in?" The others all started cursing at him. "How dare you ask? If it weren't for you, our child wouldn't have been seriously injured. I don't care if you're a crown prince or a Buddha's son. Pay up right now. Our child is still waiting for treatment." "Exactly, pay up." When Xian quickly forced a smile, "Darling, I forgot to tell you. There were over 30 classmates who rescued you from the fire, and they're all injured and hospitalized now. I've already advanced 10 million for you." You see, the young master's jaw nearly dropped to the floor. What 10 million? One parent spoke fiercely. "What 10 million? That's not even enough for the initial treatment costs of our 30-plus children. You need to give us at least another 10 million. The young master was dumbfounded. His slender eyes darted around, as if searching for a gap to slip away, but the place was packed with people, leaving no chance for escape. His eyes rolled, and he put on the airs of a dashing young master. "So it was all of you who saved me? Don't worry, I'll definitely pay you properly. Does anyone have a blank check?" When Xion's parents, who had been pretending to be dead on the side, now scurried out eagerly, they handed over a stack of blank checks and a pen with great enthusiasm. "Here you go, son-in-law, right here." The crown prince generously signed the amount and his name on it. The first parent to receive the check instantly widened their eyes. "5 million. Those who hadn't gotten their money yet immediately started pushing their way in. "What about us? Our money hasn't been given yet." The young master signed his name calmly and unhurriedly. "No rush. One at a time. Everyone will get their share, soon." Every student's parents received a check for 5 million. The young master turned to look at me, about to hand me one as well, but when Wenxin immediately grabbed his hand, she sneered coldly. "Brother, you might not know, but if it weren't for him holding us back, we would have gone in to save you much earlier. It's all his fault for wasting time and causing you to end up in the hospital." The parents who had received benefits glared at me indignantly. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, my son wouldn't have been so badly injured. You cold-hearted person. Don't even think about winning the young master's favor in your entire life. Trying to shift the blame. Who doesn't know how to do that?" I sneered coldly. "Yes, you got the money, so what? The only one truly recognized by the young master as his savior is when Xian, you got 5 million. but with the Gu family as her backing, when Xian can casually buy a bag worth 5 million in the future. Now, parents with daughters at home instantly had an idea in their hearts. That's right, Yen Master, you can't favor one over the other. My daughter also saved you. How can you just brush her off with a mere 5 million? Some people even immediately called their daughters over. Since we are in the broadcasting and hosting program, the girls in our class are all quite attractive in appearance. Now several girls were pulled to stand in front of the Yen Master, as if he were selecting a concubine. In an instant, the Yen Master's eyes were dazzled by the choices. He wiped away the non-existent drool at the corner of his mouth and finally exchanged WeChat IDs with 3 of the girls, when Xian, standing behind, was so jealous that her face twisted. But she could only maintain the dignified demeanor of the main wife. Fearing that showing jealousy would make the Yen Master lose interest in her, the other girls, seeing that they had caught the attention of the Yen Master, could no longer hold on to their resentment toward Xian, who had nearly caused them to lose their looks. They looked at me smugly and said, "It's a good thing we all went to help back then," unlike someone who was so cold-hearted, just standing there watching the show. Serves them right for getting nothing, I shrugged. Congratulations on getting the checks, but who knows if they can actually be cashed. After saying that, I quickly slipped out before they could get angry with me. Unexpectedly, after my hint, several parents became more cautious. They immediately rushed to the nearest bank to cash the checks, only to be told that the checks were invalid because the signatures on them were completely fake. No such person existed. Now they were completely broken. And they all rushed back to the hospital to find the Yen Master. However, when they pushed open the door, inside was only Xian, sound asleep, with no sign of the Yen Master anywhere. When Xian was struck awake from her sleep, the intense pain made her scream. Someone threw a check in her face. "You damn bitch. How dare you collude with the Yen Master to deceive us? This check can't be cashed at all." When Xian screamed, "How is that possible? You're just trying to cheat us out of money." But as more and more people rushed in, when Xian finally had to believe that the Yen Master had indeed given all of them checks that couldn't be cashed, when Xian muttered, "How could this be? There's no mistake. I confirmed on social media that he's the Yen Master of the Gu family. How could he not even pay such a small amount?" She seemed to have thought of something. "That's right. I heard that the Yen Master of the Gu family is quite mischievous. He must have had his allowance cut off by his father for being disobedient. Don't worry, I have his WeChat. I'll persuade him to go home and find his father right now." However, when Wenxin sent the message, the WeChat chat page only displayed a glaring exclamation mark. She had been blocked by the Yen Master. The other girls didn't believe it either and all sent messages to the Yen Master, only to be met with the same large exclamation marks. "You damn bitch, trying to fool us, huh? I'm telling you, you have to cough up that money for us." They dragged Xian along and rushed to the entrance of the Gu group. "Gu group, pay up. Our child saved your Yen Master, and now our child is disfigured. If you don't give us the money, we'll go to the media and expose you, Mr. Gu. Your girlfriend is still in our hands. If you don't come out soon, we won't be polite." When Xian endured a few more slaps, her entire face swelling up like a pig's head, she screamed desperately, "Save me, darling, help me." However, at the very top of the corporate building, Chairman Gu was simply baffled. He slammed the table. "What trouble has your Yen Master caused for me this time? Call him over here immediately." Gu Min received the notice and hurried from his small company to his father's office. Chairman Gu rubbed his forehead. "You caused this, so you solve it yourself." Gu Min had also seen the information online and, upon noticing the people below, roughly guessed the whole story. He cried out in protest, quickly explaining, "Dad, even though I'm a jerk, I'm not that low, am I? I was just about to tell you, a few days ago, I found out someone had sneaked into my villa and even used some special method to drive my car around, swindling people. I almost caught them by checking the surveillance footage, but then they set my villa on fire." A group of college students from next door insisted on rushing in to save people, and ended up getting themselves trapped. "I'm the one who's wronged here, Mr. Gu was speechless. He never expected that trouble would find him even while sitting at home. He had kept his son out of the public eye to protect him, but he never imagined it would give a criminal the perfect opportunity. Now, not only had his son's identity been impersonated, but he had also gotten tangled up with such a troublesome group of people. He looked down at the scene below, and sure enough, reporters swarmed over like leeches. He didn't even need to think about it. Today's top trending topics would undoubtedly be the ungrateful Yen Master of the Gu family, the Gu family's debt evasion, and the Gu family refuses compensation. He sighed. "The PR team is coming over right away to film a video for me." At 10 p.m. that night, the official account of the Gu group, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly posted a video like this. A young and handsome man stood in the center of the screen. "Hello everyone, I am Gu Min, also known as the so-called crown prince of the Gu group. I regret to hear that a fire broke out in my villa, resulting in dozens of injuries. However, I must clarify here that the villa was illegally occupied by someone half a month ago. That person impersonated me, flaunted my identity, and indirectly caused this tragedy. We have already reported the matter to the police. I hope all friends seeking justice will remain rational and go after the real culprit who should be held responsible for this incident." The video abruptly ended, leaving all the parties involved stunned. Some watched the video over and over again, unable to believe what they had just seen. They finally had to face the fact that they had been played. It must be understood that their children were all in the broadcasting and hosting department, whether it was their face or body. Once an irreparable scar appeared, it meant the end of their career. After all, with a population of 1.4 billion in the country, there are countless hosts with good eloquence, excellent looks, and no scars on their bodies. Some collapsed on the ground, but more people harbored deep hatred for Wen-Xian, the instigator. No one knew who lunged first, but countless people began to beat Wen-Xian with fists and kicks. By the time the police arrived, Wen-Xian was covered in blood. When they checked for a pulse, she had already been dead for a long time. Due to the large number of people involved and the lack of surveillance footage, the perpetrator responsible for Wen-Xian's death could not be identified, and the matter was eventually dropped. After Wen-Xian's death, Wen's father, who had embezzled project funds to scrape together 10 million, was soon discovered. His project fell through, and he faced massive compensation claims. People were constantly stationed outside his home, all of them parents seeking justice. Under the dual pressure, he and his wife jumped from a high-rise building, and the counselor, as the person responsible for this accident, will also face huge compensation. She not only lost her job and her fiancé, but even her family was unwilling to take her in. In the end, she ended up on the streets, living a life of madness for the rest of her days. I successfully completed my studies and, thanks to my outstanding performance, secured an internship at a television station. Later, I took over an interview program that was on the verge of being cancelled. With its engaging interview format and connections that surprised everyone, I managed to revive the show. I quickly rose to become the top host at the television station. Backstage, someone handed me a note with a phone number on it. Mobile. "There's a man named Gu Min who heard about your experience at school. He said he's very interested in you." I picked up the note and dialed Gu Min's number. A familiar voice came through. "Hey, do you have time to grab a meal with me?" I chuckled. "What will young Master Gu offer in exchange? How about joining an episode of Tonight We Talk?" After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. "In my past life, my younger sister was paralyzed, and my mother suffered a stroke. To allow my brother to attend university, I voluntarily dropped out of school to work and earn money, taking care of my mother and sister at home. Under my care, my mother was able to move around normally, and my brother also found a good job. However, my brother resented me for causing my sister's paralysis, and my mother found me annoying, always urging her to exercise. My father even wanted to sell me off for a bride price. Later, I was beaten to death, and only after I died did I realize that my sister had been pretending from the very beginning. In this new life, I will make my ungrateful family reap what they have sown." I was reborn, leaping out of bed in an instant and checking the date on the calendar. I was reborn at the moment when my mother had just suffered a cerebral infarction. In my previous life, at this time, my mother suffered a cerebral infarction, leaving half of her body unable to function normally. Meanwhile, my younger sister was paralyzed from the waist down. My older brother was about to start college, and only my father was earning money by driving a taxi, which was far from enough to cover the expenses. When we were young, my sister fell, and unexpectedly, she became paralyzed from the waist down, unable to move her lower body. She could only rely on others to care for her while confined to bed. Feeling guilty, I stepped up to help. In my previous life, I said I wouldn't continue my studies, and took a leave of absence to work and earn money to support the family. Later, my brother went to college, and my father and I worked in shifts, juggling work and caring for the family. During the day, I took care of my mother and sister, and at night, I went to work. At night, when my mother and sister were asleep, my father could finally close his eyes and rest, but during the day, both of them were awake, and I couldn't rest well at all. My younger sister had many demands, constantly asking to use the bathroom or turn over. Later, I found out that my younger sister was deliberately making things difficult for me. At the time, I didn't know that I not only had to take care of my younger sister but also accompany my mother through her rehabilitation, but my mother was lazy and unwilling to endure hardship. so I could only accompany her through practice again and again. Later, my mother recovered quite well, but she began to resent me, feeling that I was too strict with her. She thought I didn't care about her at all, only pushing her to move, as if I saw her as a burden. I felt wronged. I was only doing what was best for her, yet she held a grudge against me. As the days went by, my mother gradually recovered, able to walk, run, and cook for herself again. My brother finished university and found a good job in a big city. Everything was getting better, so I wanted to discuss with my father about continuing my studies. My father agreed, and through working part-time while studying, I successfully got into a university. I was overjoyed. On the day my brother returned, I announced the news, thinking they would be happy for me. Unexpectedly, they drugged me with a drink laced with sleeping pills. In the end, they sold me to a small mountain village. I tried to escape several times, but my legs were brutally broken. My sister came to see me, smiling as she mocked me, saying she had been pretending all along, all because my grades were better than hers, more favored by parents and older brother, so she wanted me to taste the feeling of being neglected. Later, because I didn't receive timely treatment, I died in the courtyard. Since I've been reborn, I want them to reap what they have sown. Today is the day to pick up my mother from the hospital. And also the day I decided to drop out of school in my previous life. I returned to the bedroom to pack my things. I placed the most important items, my ID card and the money I had saved, into the pocket of the clothes I was wearing. Apart from that, I looked around and realized there were hardly any belongings that truly belonged to me. Most of them were my sister's. Ever since my sister became paralyzed, the whole family has been giving in to her and spoiling her. Afraid that she might not accept it and commit suicide, gradually, it became a habit. Because my brother is the eldest and my sister is sick, so I became the one who was overlooked and sacrificed. There was a noise outside the door. My father and the others had returned. Just like in her previous life, mother lost control of half her body, with drool trickling from the corner of her mouth. Father called us over and explained the current situation. Mother needs someone to take care of her and has to take medication every day, but the family cannot afford to hire a caregiver. He glanced at me, then looked at my brother. I didn't speak, and my brother frowned at me. I knew he had also been reborn. Truly an ungrateful wretch. I smiled as I looked at him. In my previous life, he had climbed so high by feeding on my flesh and blood, yet he still resented me for not giving enough. This time he came. I want to see just how far he can go. Bro, you're not. Come on, I believe you'll definitely do better than me. He cursed under his breath, then said to his father, Dad, I'm not going to college. I'll stay home to take care of Mom and my sister. I can take the exam again later. It's just a university, isn't it? Father refused my brother, unwilling to see him waste his time at home. No, you have potential and must go to college. Shaoan is a girl. She doesn't need a high level of education. Shaoan dropping out to work and support the family. This is what she owes her sister. I couldn't listen any longer and directly interrupted. I won't take a leave of absence, so don't even think about it. Seeing me argue back, my father got angry and pointed at my nose, scolding me. What did you say? The family is already in such a difficult situation, and you have the nerve to say that. Do you believe I'll beat you to death, you worthless scum? Seeing that I didn't react, he even tried to reach out and hit me. I immediately grabbed a stool from the ground. Go ahead and try. Don't think I won't fight back. At worst, we can fight it out. If you want to go to jail and pay for a few more medical bills, you can give it a try. My brother also stood up, stopping my father. Dad, don't bother with her. She's just an ungrateful wretch. I'm here too, and I'm no worse than her. My younger sister chimed in, complaining, Sister, how could you treat Mom and Dad like this? You really don't know what's important. Last time, it was also because you pulled me and made me fall. I can't even stand up now, and I can't go to school either. If I were fine, I could take care of Mom myself, and I wouldn't need you. I'm more filial than you. You should drop out of school and stay home to take care of Mom. Brother is different from you. Sister, can you be a bit more sensible? Let's not cause them any trouble. Every time I show the slightest sign of reluctance, my sister brings up old grievances. Out of guilt, I also agree to all her demands. Hearing my sister's words, my father's anger flared up even more. Look at your sister. She's been made like this by you and hasn't blamed you at all. Why are you still so ungrateful? What kind of sister are you? Regardless of whether you're willing or not, you must drop out of school for me. I threw the stool at their faces, then went to the kitchen and brought out a kitchen knife. What are you going to do? Dad, I'm telling you, if you dare to withdraw me from school, I'll kill you. Don't forget, I'm a minor. At worst, I'll just spend a few years in prison. Seeing me speak like this, my father took a few steps back, glared at me, and shouted loudly, When did you become so bold? You're not listening, are you? Get out of here. If you leave, don't come back. I can still handle you. I nodded. Fine. I'll go, but if you dare go to the school and make me drop out, I'll make you pay. I threatened them with a knife, then threw it on the ground, picked up my already packed backpack, and walked out the door. It was during the school holiday, and I had nowhere to go, which is why my father was so arrogant, but it didn't matter. In this new life, I naturally had ways to support myself. I used the little money I had left to rent a small single room with only a bed. I spent the entire holiday outside, doing odd jobs, working as a caregiver, and shaking milk tea at a bubble tea shop. I have been taking care of my paralyzed sister for many years, so I naturally have no shortage of strength, including my previous life. I have learned a lot of nursing knowledge, so I am very skilled at caregiving work. My employer, seeing how pitiful I was and how hard I worked, gave me a little extra money when I was discharged from the hospital, in the evenings. I would take some time to review the knowledge I had almost forgotten. After a summer vacation, I had saved enough for my tuition and living expenses. The family was also turned upside down. My brother never imagined that taking care of a patient while earning money would be so difficult. He thought that with the experience from his past life, he would quickly find a good job, but this was a small town, where there were hardly any well-paying and easy jobs. Moreover, he didn't have a degree. And as soon as people heard he was a high school graduate, they wouldn't even consider him, not even for an interview. He couldn't find a job that was both easy and well-paying, so in the end, he had no choice but to rely on physical labor. He followed the path I had taken in my previous life, working as a package sorter at night and taking care of his mother and sister at home during the day. His sister didn't cause trouble like she had last time, and at first, her brother was able to look after her. Later, he became too tired, and whenever his sister woke him up needing to go to the bathroom, he would become extremely impatient. Later on, he even started using diapers for his sister and would not change them for a long time. His sister felt wronged, but she dared not reveal the fact that she was not actually paralyzed, so she had to endure it. She would take care of it herself while her brother was asleep. My brother was quite patient with our mother. Because he remembered how she had recovered in his previous life, he could be of help, at least by cooking meals. This way, he wouldn't have to take care of his younger sister during the day. He could then retake the exams, go to university, and find a good job just like he did in his past life. But he didn't understand why his mother just wouldn't exercise properly. "Mom, you can't just lie there. If you keep lying down, your hands and feet won't recover." "I don't want to. You're just looking down on me." The earlier rehabilitation exercises are done after a stroke, the better the recovery effect. My mother is lazy and unwilling to endure hardship. She won't even do simple actions like clenching her fist and raising it. Whenever I ask her to move a little, she throws a tantrum like a child, cursing me and wishing me a terrible fate. I know that if she doesn't move, she will never be able to get up again. In my previous life, I forced my mother to exercise and dragged her to walk. When my brother saw it, he even said I was cruel for treating her that way. It's his turn in this lifetime, and only now does he understand the hardship involved. There's no other way. He can't bear the thought of his mother lying in a hospital bed for the rest of her life, waiting for him to handle her bodily needs. If that were the case, he would truly be finished. So he has no choice but to force his mother to get up and walk. Just like I did. "Mom, I'm really begging you, please have some consideration for me." Mother still refuses. "I won't go out. I'd be too embarrassed to be seen like this. You unfilial child. I'd rather die than see you like this. How did I raise a son like you, who only knows how to mistreat me? Heaven has no eyes. Why did I have to get this illness, burdening myself and others? Don't worry about me anymore. Just let me die. After all, you all look down on me. You're not even willing to help me get something. I'm so miserable." Cursing a lot has actually helped the most with speech recovery, which only makes things harder for my brother. Not only had to endure his mother's insults, but also had to accept the neighbors' pointing fingers, saying he was unfilial. Abusing his own mother like this, he couldn't voice his grievances, so he started thinking of me. He came to the school and cursed me in front of everyone, calling me an ingrate, while the family was seriously ill and I was enjoying myself outside alone. He even found a reporter, trying to morally coerce me into going back to help. I asked the teacher to accompany me downstairs to take a look. "Second sister, what's going on at home? How could you just abandon mother like that? Enjoying a comfortable life all by yourself out there." A crowd of onlookers gathered around, pointing and whispering about me, while the reporters aimed their cameras in my direction. They said a lot of nice things, claiming they wanted to mediate and reconcile us. "How can a girl be so heartless? Your parents raised you for so long, and now that they're sick, shouldn't you take care of them?" The reporters spoke with such emotion that tears were in their voice. I laughed and asked the reporter, "Am I enjoying myself outside by studying at school?" The reporter was left speechless by my response. I pressed further, "So, what do you want me to do?" I'm just a student, and one who's preparing for the college entrance exam at that. I don't have any money. Are you asking me to drop out of school? I threw the question back at the reporter, but he didn't answer, hesitatingly saying instead, "That's not what I meant. It's just that your family should discuss this thoroughly. They want me to drop out of school to support the family, and they're thinking of selling me off for a bride price. What do you think of that suggestion?" Well, my opinion doesn't really matter. I smiled and took his hand. "No, your opinion matters a lot. My brother has already decided not to go to college, so he can take care of our mother and sister. I want to hear an adult's advice, so go ahead and tell me. If you want me to drop out of school or suggest that I sell myself, you can say it directly. I'll seriously consider your suggestion." I finished speaking and smiled as I looked at him. The reporter quickly withdrew his hand. How could he dare suggest such a thing, saying that would ruin his career? Even if taken out of context, I'll probably have to face online harassment. Tomorrow's headlines will likely read, "Kunming Daily Reporter suggests high school senior girl drop out of school. Get married, in exchange for a bride price." He's just trying to grab attention, not sacrifice his future. "Uncle Reporter, why aren't you saying anything?" No, you can't drop out. A student's primary duty is to study. You need to study hard." "Really? I understand. I'll listen to you." The reporter breathed a sigh of relief, but the older brother was unwilling. "What are you saying? If she studies, what about our mother? Who'll take care of her?" "Uncle Reporter, what should we do?" "It seems my brother doesn't want to accept your suggestion." The reporter frowned, looking at the brother with a hint of displeasure. "She's just a student, isn't there? You at home, and your dad. Are you two adults really insisting on having a high school student go back to take care of things? Only a few months left until the college entrance exam. Can't you hold on a little longer? We will help you seek assistance." Seeing that none of them were willing to help him, the brother turned pale and had no choice but to leave. With the help of a journalist, the brother launched a fundraising campaign, but it yielded little result. There are many people in the world who face difficulties, and our family situation is not particularly outstanding. Some even question why we need donations when we haven't reached the point of selling our house. My brother had no choice but to endure it, but eventually, he grew tired of it. Coming home during the day and seeing two people lying in bed made him feel extremely frustrated. In my previous life, with me around, he didn't have to do much caregiving work. Now that I've experienced it firsthand, I truly understand the hardship involved. Later, my mother still refused to exercise, and my brother lost his temper. "Fine, if you want to lie down, then lie down. I won't bother with you anymore." My brother really gave up on accompanying my mother for exercise. After getting her way, my mother still wasn't happy and spent all day nagging at him. "My life is so bitter. My son doesn't even care about me, leaving me alone in bed to fend for myself. Oh heavens, just look at this. He doesn't even bother to close the door before going to sleep, completely ignoring what will happen to his mother and sister. Even when it comes to meals, he just hastily buys something from outside." At noon, he only cared about sleeping and didn't help the two of them prepare anything. The younger sister was faking paralysis and could still move around to find something to eat, but the mother couldn't. When she felt uncomfortable, she could only toss and turn in bed, cursing her son for being heartless. Later, the mother could only sleep all day to reduce her suffering. Since the mother slept all day, when the father returned at night, she kept complaining to him. At first, father would still scold my brother, although he might not care much about mother. He was afraid that my brother would treat him the same way when he grew old. "You say your sister is an ingrate, but you don't even give your mother food. Will you treat me the same way when I'm old?" My brother was also angry. He had given up going to college for them, only to end up in such a situation. Moreover, he was actually said to be inferior to me, which made him even angrier. He believed he was much better than me. In his previous life, he could handle both ends and still manage to get into university. As a university student, he couldn't possibly fail to do it, but now he was being criticized so harshly by his father that he mentally broke down. "What do you mean? Are you saying I'm not as good as my sister? I gave up college for you, and now you're telling me I'm not doing a good enough job. Day in and day out, I take care of you, and now I'm the bad guy. Is that it? Why should I? I never should have stayed to look after you in the first place." My brother regrets it. If I were still here, he would be enjoying his college life instead of being stuck in a routine of changing diapers and cleaning up. My brother smashed the tables, chairs, bowls, and chopsticks, and got into a fight with our father. Father was no longer a match for my brother. After he returned, he didn't dare provoke my brother. He could only take his anger out on my mother and sister. The house was in constant chaos all day long. Because of my mother's situation and the fact that I was no longer there to take care of her, the whole family paid little attention to my sister. I used to buy things for my sister when she wanted them, but now I refuse as soon as she asks, so she can learn to be more sensible. My brother resents both my mother and my sister. If they hadn't wasted money, he wouldn't be in this situation. Seeing that my sister still wanted money to buy things she liked, he immediately scolded her. "Don't you see what times we're in? You're still spending money recklessly. I work so hard to earn money. Is this really a necessity? All you know how to do is buy things. You're completely useless at home." My sister was so upset by his words that she started crying, feeling utterly wronged when I'm around. I always fulfill her requests. If she ever wanted something, I would go out to work or collect scrap to earn money and buy it for her. Once the beloved youngest daughter of the family, she was now nothing more than a burden who couldn't help. Unlike the situation at home, for the first time, I felt so carefree, with only studying to focus on. With the money I had saved up during the holidays, I could devote myself wholeheartedly to my studies, this time, free from the burden of my family. I was certain I could get into a better university. Although my mother had not recovered, my brother could no longer wait. He wants to retake the college entrance exam to leave this family, thinking that if he could work and study part-time in his previous life and still get into university, then he can do it too. He started picking up his books again, but having to work at night left him with little energy to study during the day, after working in his previous life. It had been a long time since he had studied on his own like this. His brother simply couldn't get used to this fragmented way of learning and gave up not long after, only pretending to study during the day, picking up a book to study. His weary body soon grew tired and he fell asleep. However, he held on to a glimmer of hope, thinking he could still do well on the exam based on his previous memories. But he forgot that it wasn't just 1 year since his college entrance exam, he had been reborn. And several years had passed since his college entrance exam days. For the past several years, he has not studied any high school knowledge. He had even forgotten the questions from the college entrance exam. After years of playing on his phone, his calculations had become sluggish. How could he possibly do well on the test like this? Day by day passed, and finally, the day of the college entrance examination arrived. I ran into my brother. He has aged a lot, with white hair on his head. He saw me and still wanted to come over to me, so I shielded the exam admission ticket behind my back. He saw my appearance and sneered, "With your level, do you really think you can get into university by taking the college entrance exam?" I retorted, "You mocking me is no better than worrying about yourself. Do you think father would ever let you out? Can the family still afford your university tuition?" I said with a smile. "Brother, this time I will go higher than you. You're dreaming." He reached up to grab me, and I slapped him. "Brother, do you want to fight me?" And then both of us missed the college entrance exam together. My brother looked at me angrily and left helplessly. Later, I successfully completed the exam. After leaving school, I moved into a slightly larger single room with its own bathroom, so I no longer have to use a public restroom. I am very satisfied and will continue my working life, saving money for tuition and living expenses. I considered applying for a student loan, but the first-time application requires a parent or another relative to co-sign, and I didn't want to ask them. I can earn enough for tuition and living expenses on my own. On the day the exam results were released, I went to an internet cafe to check my score. It looked like I could get into a 985 university, even though it was just the lowest tier. I was still incredibly happy. In my previous life, I had been studying all along, just for the day I could return to school. Now that my wish has come true, I am so happy. In contrast to my happiness, my brother is extremely unhappy. He didn't even get into a bachelor's program, and he couldn't believe it. He thought of me again and went to ask my high school homeroom teacher about my situation. After getting my score, he went crazy, feeling extremely unwilling. How could I possibly have scored better than him? This can't be possible. My brother can't believe he actually lost to me. In my previous life, I had to take care of my younger sister while studying, so naturally, I couldn't compare to my brother. Brother felt that everything was different. He was clearly the one who should have gotten into a good university and had a bright future. It was all ruined. Everything was ruined. His gaze toward his mother was filled with resentment. He couldn't bring himself to attend this junior college. His exam results had been leaked. Neighbors and relatives all secretly say he's foolish. Last time he got such high scores but didn't go to school, and now he doesn't even have a bachelor's degree. They even praised me for being outstanding, much better than that older brother. His classmates have already gone to college, and when they heard about his situation, they laughed at him. They asked if his previous grades were copied, with memories from his past life and comparing them to his current situation. His brother's mindset exploded. Hearing these words made him even more unwilling to go out, and he started smashing things at home. He pointed at his mother and sister's faces and cursed, "It's all your fault, you burdens. If it weren't for you, how could I have ended up like this? Why aren't you all dead yet?" Mother was furious, thinking how dare her son speak to her like that. The younger sister felt wronged. She wanted to stand up and tell her brother she was fine, but she didn't dare. Afraid that if her brother found out, he would hit her, the brothers stopped giving their mother her medicine and also began not bringing money home. Later, by chance, he heard about the location where I worked and came with my father to find me, hoping I would go back. Sister, I was wrong. Please come back. Okay, you see, last time I didn't go to college, and this time you're not going either. That's only fair, daughter. Your mother misses you so much. She keeps talking about you with me all day long. Just go back with Dad. We won't scold you anymore from now on. We were really wrong. We know you've had a hard time. Just come back with us. I chuckled, thinking these two were crazy. Are you out of your minds? You told me to get lost and never come back. And it was you who called me an ungrateful wretch, saying I harmed my sister and must pay the price. Now you're begging for my forgiveness, but it's just to get me back as a nanny. You're dreaming. After I said this, the two of them turned hostile. Chinin, don't push your luck. What the hell is this nonsense? I'm telling you, if you don't come back, I'll tie you up and drag you back if I have to. They started causing trouble at the place where I worked, smashing things. I called the police, and they were taken away. There was nothing I could do. I apologized to my boss, even though she still wanted to keep me, but I knew my father and brother's temper would surely lead them to cause trouble again, so I refused. I wanted to settle this once and for all. They should pay the price. After some time, my father and brother were released, and as expected, they still wanted to cause trouble. I agreed to their request and moved back home. When my sister saw me return, she scolded me. You bitch, you whore, why did you come back so late? Look at you, hiding for so long, but in the end, you still had to come back, didn't you? It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, how could our family have ended up like this? Hurry up and bring the money back, I calmly retorted. On what grounds? On what grounds? Just because you're my sister, and it's your fault my leg got injured. You should be responsible. My sister looked disheveled, her clothes all dirty. I smiled, slapped her across the face, and she froze. I leaned in close to her and took a sniff, then covering my nose with my hand. Ugh, who's covered in urine smell? It stinks so much. My sister was furious and reached out to grab me. What did you say? You're the one who stinks. I dodged. Could she really get up if she was pretending to be paralyzed? Enough, I'm not going to make a scene anymore. Father stopped my sister. He had just tricked me into coming back. So how could he let my sister drive me away again? My sister stared at me with a grievance. I handed a case of alcohol and a pack of cigarettes as gifts to my brother and father. They accepted it. I saw them busy in the kitchen, not letting me go over, saying I was a guest. Later, when the meal was ready, our family sat at the dining table to eat, and I paid attention to their actions. Sure enough, they wanted to pull the same trick again, trying to sell me off. My brother handed over the cup, looking at me nervously, and I smiled as I turned to look at my sister. Sister, look, brother doesn't even want to give it to you. Do you like this feeling? From now on, everything of yours will be mine. She sat next to me and snatched the cup directly. The older brother saw this and scolded his sister. Brother, how could you treat me like this? It was when you took us out to play that I ended up like this. The older brother frowned and softened his tone. But you're still being a bit too unreasonable. When I was young, there were 3 of us in the family. My younger sister was mischievous and often got scolded by our parents. I did well in school, so they would praise me in front of her, telling her to learn from both of us. Later, one day, my older brother took us to play in the mountains. When it was time to go back, my sister didn't want to leave. We got into an argument, and I ended up dragging her home by force. She fell, and I carried her back on my back. We were punished because of our sister, but she was comforted by our parents, so she came up with a devious idea and started pretending to be paralyzed from then on. Since we had no money, she could only go to small hospitals and clinics for checkups. It never worked, and later, because of this incident, both my brother and I felt guilty toward our sister. I thought at the time that I shouldn't have stopped my sister from continuing to play, while my brother thought he shouldn't have taken her there. Later, my brother also began to blame me for why I had to pull my sister away. After that, whenever there was something good, we would always save the best for my sister first. When it was time to start school, my sister didn't want to go, so I taught her at home. She got even more annoyed. How come you can go to school, just showing off your good grades? It's all your fault. You made me like this, and you have to take responsibility. No matter how much I explained, it was useless. In the end, my sister still didn't go to school and just stayed at home. I felt even more guilty toward her, but it turned out everything was fake. I poured a drink for everyone, and both my mother and sister drank theirs. I drank mine too. Although my brother didn't know why I drank it, he felt relieved when he saw me do so. We started drinking wine 1 cup after another, pairing it with the dishes. My father also smoked, ate, and enjoyed imagining the wonderful life that lay ahead. Before long, everyone at the table had passed out, except for me. I just found some sleeping pills from my father's room, took a few, and secretly added them to the dishes while they weren't paying attention. I also switched the drinks. I kicked the table, causing the wine bottle to fall and spill all over the floor. Then, I used a tissue to pick up the cigarette but my father had used, lit it, and threw it onto the sofa. I slightly rearranged the room layout to make sure the fire would spread slowly. The house was already crowded, and with many flammable items piled up, the fire quickly spread. My home is a self-built rural house, so there's no need to worry about affecting others. Black smoke filled the room, and when the timing seemed right, I shook the others awake, then ran outside. My brother and father followed me out. They were gasping for breath, so I called the firefighters. Dad, brother, where are Mom and my sister? Those two selfish people ran away as soon as they encountered such a situation. How could they possibly care about anyone else? They glanced at each other, and the father spoke first. You're young, you go up and save them. The fire is so big, what if I die in there? Those two burdens might as well be gone. At my brother's words, my father fell silent. I stood by, quietly recording the sound. So you're just giving up on your mom and your sister? What do you mean I gave up? If it weren't for you drugging us, how could we have slept so soundly? It's all your fault. They were busy blaming each other when they noticed that their younger sister had managed to come out on her own. The older brother widened his eyes in shock. You're not paralyzed. Panting heavily, the younger sister said angrily, if I were really paralyzed, and you abandoned me like this, I'd be dead. The brother grabbed his sister's clothes and punched her. What kind of joke is that? If it weren't for you being like this, I would have gone to college. I've been feeling guilty all this time, and you actually lied to me. Why didn't you say it earlier, if you had spoken up sooner? How could I have ended up like this? The sister dodged her brother's punches. Stop hitting me, please. I was wrong. I wanted to say it too, but you've all done so much for me. How could I bring myself to say it? My brother didn't listen and beat her as if he had gone mad. Later, the firefighters came and the fire was put out. My mother died. The police came to investigate, and I submitted the recording as evidence. After all, it was the medicine that father bought. And the fire was caused by the cigarette but he dropped while smoking, which ultimately led to someone's death. So father went to prison, the brother and sister turned against each other, and he sold his sister. After some time, I reported it to the police, and both the brother and the buyer were arrested. Just like me before, my sister's legs were broken. This time, she was truly paralyzed in bed, unable to move. I went to college, free from any burdens, after hearing the two stories above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.